Tiresias. Actually, you know what? You stay because you'll be entering later. And Miriam in the circle.
Bye, Miriam. Michael.
Okay, scene one. Everybody reading along or listening. Oedipus.
Okay. Is this your prayer? It may be answered. Listen to me. Act as the crisis demands, and you shall have relief from these evils. Until now, as a stranger to this tale, as I've been a stranger to the crime. Could I track down the murderer without a clue? But now, friends, as one who became a citizen after the murder, I make this proclamation to all of Thebans. If any man knows how Tyrannous, son of Lepidacos, met his death, I direct that man to tell me everything. No matter what he fears for having so long withheld it, let it stand as promised that no further trouble will come to him, but he may leave the land in safety. Moreover, if anyone knows the murderer to be foreign.
Confident? What else? What has he said basically in those lines?
He's gonna find this murderer and he's trying to appeal to the people, like, even if you're scared, come and talk to me. Like, we just want to find out who this is.
Right.
All this, da da da.
I mean, to be honest, he sounds kind of like a father. He's like, listen, who broke the vase? Like, okay, listen, if you're scared, don't worry. I'm not going to punish you. I just need to know who broke the vase. Or if it was one of your friends, don't worry. I'm not going to do anything. Just I want to know who it is. So far, nice guy, whatever. Now, he says, however, if he does conceal it, if any man fearing for his friend or for himself disobeys this edict, hear what I propose to do.
Will come to him, but he may leave this land in safety. Let him not keep silent. He shall have his reward from me. However, if he does conceal it, if any man fearing for I solemnly forbid the people of this country, where power and throne are mine, ever to receive that man or speak to him, no matter who he is, or let him join in sacrifice, lustration, or in prayer. I decree that he be driven from every house, being as he is corruption. And
nobody comes forward if he has to pursue this further. What's going to happen? He's going to
exile that person. He can never come back here. Not even sacrifice, prayer, nothing. They can't come. They can't be with us because they're playing themselves.
So yeah, was it
driven by from every house? He's not allowed anywhere. And he said something about the oracle, right?
Right at the end there. Thus I associate myself. So there's obviously, I think everybody here can sense the sense of irony of the fact that he's probably the one who's guilty of this crime, and he's passing down all of these things he's going to do. But let's just try to take stock of the intensity of this. So he's not just saying that they aren't allowed to live in the city anymore. He's also saying they aren't allowed to sacrifice or worship anymore. So those are two kinds of houses they're being kicked out of. They're being kicked out of the holy house, the connection with the gods, and they're being kicked out of their home. I mean, even that stuff doesn't really happen that much to us today. But even think about this. I imagine everybody here lives in Mississauga, right? If you were said you're not ever allowed to come into Mississauga ever again, we're going to take you to Oakville and just dump you in the middle of the street, and you can never come back. And you're not allowed to go to anybody for help. You're not allowed to do anything like that. Would you be happy? Would that be a good state of affairs or be a bad state of affairs? Awful. Now let me say, if in addition to that, we're also going to bar you from having any kind of communication with God. So you're going to hell as well. So you're going to hell, and you aren't able to go home while you're still alive.
You can't stop me from going to church.
You try it. You go into church and cut your head off. Yeah, so he's not messing around here. Now, of course, at the end, he says, I associate myself with the oracle and take the side of the murdered king. What do you think of that line? I associate myself with the oracle. What is he literally saying there?
Him and the oracle are together.
Well, what did the oracle?
The oracle says he supports, and he's on the side of the murdered king. So he feels bad for what happened, and he wants to kind of redeem him.
Right. So he's associating himself with the oracle. But remember yesterday how I said it was odd that he asked what was going on, even though he knew what was going on. So he's kind of like a know-it-all. Remember, his claim to fame isn't some big strength event that he did. It was his mind. So when he says, I associate myself with the oracle, there's kind of a more metaphorical meaning. he puts himself, in terms of his intelligence, in terms of his ability to get things done, up there with a semi-divine person, like an oracle. So we'll see how this sense of his knowing everything plays out. Okay, Francisco. As for the criminal.
As for the criminal, I pray to God, whether it be a lurking thief or one of a number, I pray that that man's life be consumed in evil and wretchedness. And as for me, this curse applies no less if it should turn out that the culprit is my guest here, bearing my heart. You have heard the penalty. I lay it on you now to attend to this, for my sake, for Apollo's, for the sick, sterile city that heaven has abandoned. Suppose the oracle had given you no command. Should this defilement go uncleansed forever? You should have found the murderer. Your king, a noble king, had been destroyed. Now I, having the power that he held before me, having his bed, begetting children there upon his wife, as he had he lived, their son would have been and see it one. I'll find the hand that brought death to Labdacos and Polydoros' child, heir of Cadmos and Agrinor's line. And as for those who fail me, may the gods deny them the fruit of the earth, fruit of the womb, and may they rot utterly. Let them be wretched as we are wretched, and worse. For you, for loyal.
Who can give us a quick definition?
It's like things that we know, and then the characters talk about it in the book, but they still don't know it yet.
Right.
Like what's
So-
going on.
So what's the biggest piece of dramatic irony in the lines Oedipus just read?
He is Laius' son, and he did kill him.
Right. So Oedipus, in his mind, he's like, listen, you guys had a really great king here, and you did nothing about it. And now look what's happened. Well, I took over his throne, so I'm going to act as if I were his noble son avenging his death. And then he even goes through the whole line of all the people. Labdacus, son of Polydorus, son of Cadmus. So what's the obvious question? What's the obvious answer? Why is that so dramatically ironic? Because he really is. All right. And bad fortune struck him down. Interesting. All right. So, yeah.
He says also, like, if it turns out the culprit is my guest here, sharing my heart.
Mhm.
Well, like, the culprit is
The culprit is.
Why did he not say who the culprit was?
an honest question, but no man in the world can make the gods do more than the gods will.
There is an alternative, I think.
Tell me. Any or all, you must not fail to tell me.
A lord clairvoyant to the Lord Apollo, as we all know, is a skilled
Tiresias.
Tiresias. One might learn much about this from him, Oedipus.
I'm not wasting time. Creon spoke of this, and I've sent for him, twice in fact. It's strange that he is not here.
The other matter, that old report, seems useless.
What was that? I'm interested in all reports.
Well, to meet Tiresias, but who is Tiresias in this story? What did Caragos say?
The high, or like, he survived the act, right? And like the high version killed the king.
No, not quite. So let's take a look at Caragos. A lord clairvoyant to the Lord Apollo, as we all know, is a skilled Tiresias. What's that?
Yeah, he can talk to Apollo.
Yeah, so Tiresias is kind of like an oracle. He's like a representative of Apollo on Earth. Okay, so they're saying, well, listen. So Apollo didn't give us the name of the killer. Maybe Tiresias knows, because Tiresias is Apollo's servant. Now, I just want to bring your attention to this part right here. So Oedipus just gave out this edict, right? The person who did this is going to die a horrible death. May evil engulf them, all these things, right? And then the chorus says, Caragos says, if the killer can feel a particle of dread, your curse will bring him out of hiding. And what does Oedipus say right there?
No, the men who did that act with fear, no curse.
So, wait a second. Why give the curse? Why make this huge proclamation in front of everybody if you really think it's not going to have any effect? Are there any guesses? Anyone?
I think it's because he wants to demonstrate to like, the people around him how much he's committed to this act.
Mhm.
Like even though he knows that what he's saying probably has no effect on who the real killer is, he feels like doing this will inspire everyone else. Like see him as a leader.
Good. I would have to agree.
Probably. This is kind of like related to what Francisco said. This will kind of inspire fear in the people, and then they'll do work for him, really. So, like, even if the real color doesn't come out, other people will kind of speculate because they obviously don't want people to think that it's them, right?
Mhm.
They'll go around and they'll find out, and eventually they'll report back.
Right. Now, is that action inspiring fear in the people so that they do these things? Is that the action, would you say, of a good leader, of a good tyrant, or of the tyrant that we think of, an evil tyrant? Bad? Who says bad? Who says good? Is that, can I imagine everybody else is in the middle on that?
Wait, sir, you said good tyrant?
Yeah, so a good leader, let's say. A good leader. So what is Oedipus trying to do in finding the murderer? What's the point of it? He's trying to solve the plague, right? They say, get rid of the plague. Everybody's dying horribly right now. You want to solve it? Let's find the murderer. And we'll see what means he goes through. Okay, so enter Tiresias. Caracas.
But there is one man who may detect the criminal. This is Tiresias. This is the holy prophet in whom, alone of all men, truth was born.
Tiresias, seer, student of mysteries, of all that's taught and all that no man tells, secrets of heavens and secrets of the earth. Blind though you are, you know the city lies sick with plague, and from this plague, my lord, we find that you alone can guard or save us. Possibly you did not hear the messengers, Apollo, when we sent us back word that this great pestilence would lift, but only if we establish clearly the identity of those who murdered Laos. They must be killed in distress.
How dreadful knowledge of the truth can be when there is no help in truth. I knew this well, but did not act on it, else I should not have come.
What is troubling you? Why are your eyes so cold?
You go home, bear your own fate, and I'll bear mine. It is better, so trust what I say.
What you say is ungracious and unhelpful to your native country. Do not refuse to speak.
When it comes to speech, your own is neither temperate nor opportune. I wish to be more prudent.
In God's name, we all beg you.
You are all ignorant. No, I will never tell you what I know. Now it is my misery, then it would be yours.
What, you do know something and will not tell us? You would betray us all and wreck the state?
I do not intend to torture myself or you. Why persist in asking? You will not persuade me.
What a wicked old man you are. You try a stone's patience, out with it. Have you no feeling at all?
You call me unfeeling if you could only see the nature of your feelings.
Why? Who would not feel as I do? Who could endure your arrogance towards the city?
What does it matter? Whether I speak or not, it is bound to come.
Then, if it is bound to come, you are bound to tell me.
No, I will not go on. Rage as you please.
Rage? Why not? And I'll tell you what I think. You planned it. You had it done. You all but killed him with your own hands. If you had eyes, I'd say the crime was yours and yours alone.
So I charge you, then abide by the proclamation you have made. From this day forth, never speak again to these men or to me. You yourself are the pollution of this country.
You dare say that? Can you possibly think you have some way of going free after such insolence?
I have gone free. It is the truth sustains me.
Who taught you shamelessness? It was not your craft.
You did. You made me speak. I did not want to.
Speak what? Let me hear it again more clearly.
Was it not clear before? Are you tempting me?
I did not understand it. Say it again.
I say that you are the murderer whom you seek.
Now twice you have spat out infamy. You'll pay for it.
Would you care for more? Do you wish to be really angry?
Say what you will. Whatever you come is worthless.
I say you live in hideous shame with those most dear to you. You cannot see the evil.
Can you go on babbling like this forever?
I can if there is power in truth.
There is, but not for you. Not for you. You sightless, witless, senseless, mad old man.
You are the madman. There is no one here who will not curse you so as you curse me.
You child of total night. I would not touch you, neither would any man who sees the sun.
True. It is not from you my faith will come. That lies within Apollo's confidence as it is his concern.
Tell me, who made these fine discoveries? Creon or someone else?
Creon is no threat. You leave your own doing.
Wealth, power, craft of statesmanship, kingly position everywhere admired. What savage envy is stored up against these? If Creon, whom I trusted, Creon my friend, for this great office which the city once put in my hands and sought. If for this power, Creon desires in secret to destroy me. He has brought this decrepit fortune teller, this collector of dirty pennies, this prophet fraud. Why, he's no more clairvoyant than I am. Tell us, has your mystic mummery ever approached the truth? When that hellcat, the Sphinx, was performing here, what help were you to these people? Her magic was not the first man came along. It demanded a real exorcist. Your birds, what good were they? Or the gods, for what mattered that? But I came by, Oedipus, the simple man who knows nothing. I thought it out for myself. No birds helped me. And this.
Okay, so somebody tell me what happened in the scene. Somebody I haven't heard from yet. Mary. Tiresias.
Yeah, Tiresias. He told him that he is the person that he's seeking, but he doesn't believe it.
Oedipus doesn't believe it. Okay, so is Oedipus happy about hearing this or not happy? So what does Oedipus say to Tiresias once he gives him the news for a second time? Trinity, what does Oedipus say?
He basically kind of says like he's lying, so like that him and Creon will suffer.
Yeah, so he thinks that there's some kind of conspiracy. So let's try to extend this metaphor of the scientist. Okay, so we've imagined this scientist, he's cured cancer with this simple pill. However, 15 years later, everybody is starting to die horrible deaths. And then let's say that they start testing these people to see what the reason is these people are dying. And they find that there was something in this pill, some kind of contagion, that is causing this reaction against it. And now the question is, how can we find out what this contagion is? Okay, so now we bring in two more, let's say, scientists. You have Creon, who is just another famous scientist. Could have been as famous as this guy, but isn't. Then you have Tiresias. Let's say he was another cancer researcher who was the most respected until Oedipus, the cancer researcher, came along. So if you're Oedipus, the scientist, just cured cancer, right? You have these other scientists who are all probably jealous of you. And your rival in this field comes and says, actually, it was something that you did with your pill, you specifically, that's causing all these deaths. Do you think that you, Oedipus, the scientist, would agree, would take that on completely, or would you be a little bit suspicious as well? Who says they'd be suspicious? Who says, no, I mean, we have to hear all the views. I'll take this as well as being possibly true. Possibly. So we're starting to get a sense of Oedipus here. He thinks he knows everything, with good reason too. I mean, Tiresias didn't solve the riddle. This other guy didn't cure cancer in the metaphor I'm drawing, right? But he's saying these people are trying to overthrow him. So he's getting pretty paranoid. Okay, so let's pick it up at the bottom. Or rather at the top here, in the middle, Caragos.
We cannot see that his words or yours have been spoken except in anger, Oedipus. And of anger we have no need. How to accomplish that God's will is best. That is what most concerns us.
You are a king.
No, that's Tiresias.
Oh.
You are a king, but where arguments in turn, I am your man, as much a king as you. I am not your servant, but a pawn. I have no need of Creon or Creon's name. Listen to me, you mock my blindness, do you? I say that you with both your eyes are blind. You cannot see the wretchedness of your life, nor in whose house you live in, no, nor with whom. Who are your father and mother, can you tell me? You do not even know the blind wrong that you have done to them on earth and in the world below. But the double lash of your parents' curse will whip you out of this land someday, and only night upon your precious eyes. Your cries then, where will they not be heard? What crassness of
Kithyron.
Thyron will not echo them. And that bridal discontent of yours, you know it then. The song they sang when you came here to Thebes and found your misguided birthing, all this and more that you can not guess at now, will bring you to yourself among your children. Be angry then, curse Creon. Curse my words, I tell you, no man that walks upon the earth shall be rooted out more horribly than you.
Okay, so Oedipus just accused Creon of wanting to conspire to take his throne. He's throwing all these words that he's insulted him. He's insulted his blindness. He says he knows nothing. What does Tiresias say? Luke. What does Tiresias say to Oedipus after he's insulted him? Other Luke. Also? Okay, so Luke's are out. Philip? No? Okay, does anybody here know what Tiresias just said to Oedipus? Peyton?
Basically he's saying that like call me blind but not like understanding of the truth in a sense.
Mhm.
And also saying that he knows nothing to do with the matter. So he should be thankful.
And he also kind of gives a prophecy of his own. What does he say is going to happen by the end of this day? So not only is he saying that you're blind, but he's saying, listen, by the end of today, you're going to be as messed up, let's say, as you think that you're going to make me. Okay, what does Oedipus say back to this? Top of the page.
Am I to bear this from him? Damnation, take you out of this place, out of my sight.
I would not have come at all if you had not asked.
Could I have told that you talk nonsense? That you'd come here to make a fool of yourself and me?
A fool? Your parents thought me sane.
My parents again. Wait, who were my parents?
This day will give you a father and break your heart.
You infantile riddles. You're infantile riddles. You're damned abracadabra.
You were a great man once at solving riddles.
Mock me with that if you like. You will find it true.
It was true enough. It brought about your ruin.
But if it saved this town,
Boy, give me your hand.
yes, boy, lead him away. While you are here, we can do nothing. Go, leave us in peace.
I will go when I have said what I have to say. How can you hurt me? And I tell you again, the man you have been looking for all this time, the damned man, the murderer of Laos, the man is in Thebes. To your mind, he is foreign-born, but it will soon be shown that he is a Theban. A revelation that will fail to please a blind man who has his eyes now, a penniless man who is rich now. And he will go tapping the strange earth with his staff to the children whom he lived. Now he will be brother and father, the very same to her who bore him son and husband, the very same who came to his father's bed wet with his father's blood. Enough, go think that over. If later you will find error in what I have said, you may say that I have no skill in prophecy.
Okay, so before we leave there, so this is the third time Tiresias has kind of thrown this big news at Oedipus. So in that last bit, he gets even more specific. So what does Tiresias say in that last bit? Christina.
I think that Oedipus murdered his father. And yeah.
So that's one. So he's saying that you're killed his father. Okay, what else? There's a whole section right there, right before the ending. The damned man, the murder of Laius, the man is in Thebes. To your mind, he is foreign-born, but it will soon be shown that he's a Theban, a revelation that will fail to please. Then right here is where he comes up with basically the prophecy for the day. So a blind man who now has eyes. A penniless man who is rich now, and he will go tapping the strange earth with his staff. To the children with whom he lives now, he will be brother and father, the very same. To her who bore him, son and husband, the very same, who came to his father's bed wet with his father's blood. So he really just spells it out. He's saying, listen, you killed Laius. Laius and Jocasta are your parents. Your children are also your brothers and sisters. Your wife is also your mother. Could he be any clearer than that? No? That's pretty much straight up, right? Do you think Oedipus is going to be ready to accept this? We'll have to find out. So, thank you guys. You have a seat. So now we're doing the chorus part, and we'll start with Victoria. Yeah, so remember, each line of the chorus is what you read. Know where your line is, follow it through so we can have a nice progression, okay? Start us off, Victoria.
The Delphic Stone of Prophecies.
Remembers ancient.
And a still bloody hand. That killer's hour of light has come.
You must be stronger and literalist.
Voices of utter will.
The son of Zeus, armed with his father's son, leaps and lightning after him.
And the Furies hold this track, the sad Furies.
Holy Arnosis, peak of snow,
Flashes and blinds that secret man.
and all shall hunt him down.
Though he may roam the forest shade, like a bolt on wild compassion.
The two aged things of stone, nothing's down on him, But will not reveal him, for the world's heart caution. And the mortal words as follows, for
But now a louder thing is heard, and the old man is bold at killing play in the living deep of the brain.
Being riddled at a broken word, and the soul hungers and truth.
Hold in this debate for any reason or rest of mind.
But no man ever brought them to bring. Who have strife between Thebes' royal house?
Lapticus.
Lapticus Lion and the son of Oedipus.
Never until now has any man brought word.
A loud dark death stream Oedipus.
Divine Zeus and Apollo hold.
Perfect intelligence alone of all tales ever told.
And well known his diviner works, he works in his own night.
No man can judge that rock unknown or trust in second sight.
But we meet changes along the way.
Shall I believe in great work?
At a raging word that a blind old man let fall.
I saw him when the carry woman faced him a wall.
Prove his heroic mind, his evil words are lies.
Okay. So, what does the chorus think at the end of all this? What were they saying there? Josh, if you don't have a perfect answer, just give me what your impressions are. Well, first of all, let's get a sense of who is the chorus, like in the play, like who is the chorus supposed to represent? The people of Thebes, okay? So you have the people of Thebes, and they've just been saved, and this is their savior, Oedipus, okay? There happens to be another plague that comes along. Who would be the last person they'd think is responsible for the plague? Why? Because he's the savior, right? But they're caught between both their love and worship of Oedipus, their savior, and what the gods seem to keep on saying, okay? So, again, analogies to the modern day are difficult to draw because we don't believe in prophecy the way that the ancient Greeks would have. But we can all at least appreciate the fact that if you hold somebody in very high esteem, to find out that they're the reason that things are as awful as the way they are. I mean, Isabel, you said this is very confused, right? And if not also confusing. Well, yeah, that's why. They're also very confused. They don't know what to do. But the last words here are, prove his heroic mind. These evil words are lies. So whose side are they on right now? Oedipus. Against Tiresias and against the gods. Okay. So, let's see. We have about 25 minutes left. Quite a bit of time. Okay. So we talked yesterday that the theme that you guys want to explore in class, this is not independent, but in class, is the idea of free will. Is that right? We're all still on the page. The choices were free will and truth. Free will still interests people the most? Okay. So how I'm going to go about this is that the idea of free will touches all of your topics. So for example, what is the idea of justice if a person doesn't have free will, if they didn't choose what they did? Right? So that's an important idea to think about for justice. Can we say that a person is heroic if they didn't have the freedom to choose, let's say, the heroic deed that they did? Are they still a hero if they're just a puppet playing on someone else's strings? Right? Now, democracy and tyranny. When we think about democracy, there's an assumption about what democracy means. It means that people can choose what's best for society. We don't need a king and queen to tell us what's best, right? We have confidence in the rationality and the reason and logic of human beings to make decisions. We don't need a theocracy, for example, to tell us what we have to do. We don't need a monarchy to tell us what we need to do. If people aren't in control of their own actions, does that have any effect on our confidence in democracy? And does it change our belief in whether or not a tyranny would be any better? What do we say to those things, okay? So those are the ways it can touch all of your topics. And these are things you guys can consider as you're writing about them. But I want to clarify what the final essay is going to ask you to do, okay? So you know how to compare Oedipus to what? King Lear. The comparison you're going to make is on the basis of your topic. So you're going to take the idea of justice. Okay, I'm thinking about justice. What does justice look like in Oedipus? What does justice look like in King Lear? Ditto with heroism, ditto with democracy and tyranny. Yeah.
I don't know if this is like relevant, but I noticed that like one similarity between the two already is that they talk a lot about like being blind and then being able to see, and like in King Lear it's the same thing. So like at first like they say that King Lear is blind and he doesn't know what he's doing, and then later on like he can see, or like the same thing with Gloucester, like right when they take out his eyes is when he can truly like see, and it's the same thing here. Like what was it? Tirannous is saying like right now, even though you're blind, later on.
If I was to have followed the truth line with our discussion, that would probably been the main line that I followed. As it happens, I mean, it's definitely a thing to notice. And if you want to try to include it in the essay, that's fine. But just remember that the topic that you're developing, that's the idea you're developing in your essay. So what's the point of the essay? Why, like, what's the point of the comparison? The point of these essays, remember, for me at least in this class, is for you to develop your own thoughts on important topics. So we all know nobody here is going into English, right? Everybody's doing other things. Nevertheless, these questions are going to weigh on you regardless of what you do, regardless of if you're a computer engineer, an engineer, lawyer, doesn't matter, okay? You all, for example, live in a democracy. So it's kind of important if you think democracy is the worst system of government, or if you actually think that it's a good system of government. For example, you all already are members of a democracy. For the idea of justice, well, you read a story on the news. It doesn't matter if you know what you think about justice. When you read that story, you know in your heart or in your gut whether it's just or not. And I mean, does anybody here make the case that we have perfect justice in our society? Does any society have a perfectly just way of doing things? No. So it doesn't matter where you try to escape to in your life, what you do for work. That question is still going to impinge on you because you're a human being living in a society. Now, with heroism, right? With heroism, I'm sure everybody here, if they thought about it, they can think of somebody that they think of when they're trying to, attain something higher. Okay, if you're in science, you might think of a famous scientist, or even in your own personal life. Well, knowing about what to do with heroes is also important. If you go following, for example, a political hero, or a political leader, because you think he or she is this great hero, will that put you in a good spot or a bad spot when it turns out they're not as heroic as you thought they were, right? So regardless of what you guys do after this class and after this school, these questions are all still going to weigh on you. And like I said yesterday, you don't have a choice about whether you think something about it or not. What's the only choice I said that you do have? Anybody remember? Agree or disagree? The choice that I think you have is whether or not your thoughts are yours or they're somebody else's who's telling you what to think. And like I said yesterday, I brought that analogy about a puppet. I mean, if you're hung up on strings, do your legs ever get tired? No, you're just hanging there. But you have to go where the puppeteer says. If you cut that string down, yeah, you have to take the responsibility to actually move your own legs. I'm asking you all to take the responsibility to actually think through these things. But you go where you want to go. Nobody else is pulling you. Now, again, I can't force you guys to think that one way is better than another. But I think you'd all at least tell me that you'd rather not be a puppet. Is that a fair assumption? So we're really only using King Lear and Oedipus as kind of examples or cases in point. I'm thinking about justice. I'm trying to think through what it really means to be just. Well, Sophocles in his play presents justice this way. Shakespeare in his play presents justice that way. Do I agree? Do I think that what happens to Oedipus is just? Do I think what happens to Lear is just? If I say I agree, then I have to describe why. And in describing why, I'll flesh out what I think justice is. In disagreeing, I'll flesh out again what I think justice is, because you need to know in order to agree or disagree. So that's why I'm saying these posts are going to start building your essay for you. So when you start off by saying what you think now your topic means, that'll be your starting point in your essay. What do you think it means? Then you're going to collide with a few different sources. I'm going to give you guys a critical essay to read this on your topic. They're short, they're only excerpts from essays. So you're going to collide with another opinion and see, do you agree or disagree? I'm going to ask you to bring in a piece from the media, a news story, a video, it doesn't matter to me, that touches on your topic. And you're going to say, do I agree or disagree? There's another collision to start to sharpen what you think. Then when we finish the play and we look at it, then you're going to further sharpen what you think based on what the play says. Okay? The plays and literature don't prove anything. It's not like we can read King Lear or Oedipus and it'll prove whether or not free will exists. I mean, the reason for that is obvious. You can't prove something on the basis of a made-up premise. Sophocles could make any kind of world that he wants. That has very little to do with our world. So it doesn't prove whether or not these things are right. Sophocles doesn't prove what is just. He gives a view of what is just. And then it's us to compare that to our own experience, to what we think in the world, and to sharpen our own minds based on our collision with Oedipus and Sophocles. So do you guys see what I'm saying by that? Does anybody have questions about, well, firstly, if you have any questions about the essay, we can work with it as we go. In terms of pages, count, I don't care. I'm going to be doing a full day of essay workshop with you guys to tell you at least what I expect to find in your essays. Like I said, I'll be writing my own essay based on the exact same thing you guys are doing. Yesterday, when you guys were doing your little stream of consciousness, 3 minutes of writing, I was also writing about free will. I'm also going to bring in a media piece. I will also read a critical essay about it, and I'll share this with you guys as I go. I will build my essay in front of you guys in real time, so you know what I expect, what it looks like, right? But in terms of pages, I mean, on the one hand, you don't want your essay to be so short that you're not substantiating your views. If you just throw something out there and you leave it unproven, I'll say, well, that's very nice. Maybe it's true. I don't know. And you're not going to do very well. On the other hand, and this is probably more of the problem I've seen with high school level essays, is there's a lot of things in there that aren't necessary. And the last thing you want to see on your essay when I mark it is a big red line through one of your points because I thought it was unnecessary. That means you wasted your time that could have been spent doing better things, like not writing an essay. And you've wasted my time having to read it when I could have been doing other things like reading other people's essay to get my marking done. So how are we going to decide what is necessary and what is not? So you guys have all been in high school now for 4 years, and you guys have written many essays. Do you have any idea about what is something that shouldn't be in an essay? Any idea at all?
It's rewording a point you stated before, it doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, I just read it. I don't need to hear it again. Okay, what else should not be in an essay? Personal pronouns? Okay, so yes and no, yes and no. So yes, it's true, a formal essay, you shouldn't be saying I because that implies you're only saying your opinion. And when I read your essay, I want an analysis. I don't want just an unsubstantiated opinion. I will allow you to use personal pronouns because I'm interested in seeing your development of thought. That being said, if you make a point and you don't have any proof or evidence or any discussion of the point, then it's useless to me. So you can use personal pronouns as long as you use them correctly. The reason you're told not to use personal pronouns is when you don't, it forces you to kind of substantiate. But that's the reason. If you guys think that it's best for your own writing to avoid them so you don't fall into that trap, then be my guest. But I personally don't have a problem with the personal pronoun. Anything else that shouldn't be in an essay? Summary, okay? I've read Oedipus. I know that you've read Oedipus. I don't need a summary of the plot, okay? I don't want to just read, oh, Oedipus, it starts off with this guy and then you spend a page just telling me about what the story is. I know what the story is. I care about what's significant about the points that you're making. So you can say, oh, remember in this line, Oedipus says, I think everything you're saying is a lie. Well, here's why that's important. Boom, boom, boom. I don't need a summary of the plot. If I see a whole paragraph that's just summarizing the plot, I'm going to put a big X through it, and you're on not good ground because you've just wasted a bunch of space, a bunch of your time, most importantly, and less importantly, a bunch of my time, right? So you assume that the reader in this case knows the play, and all I care about is what importance you're taking from it. How do you know if you've plagiarized something? What's that? You haven't cited it. So does that mean that if I were to look at a critical essay and I change one of the words, well, sir, I didn't just copy and paste. I took it and I changed the word. Have I plagiarized? Yes or no? Okay. If I paraphrase, if I take the idea that somebody else said that I didn't have, I take someone else's idea, but I put their idea in my own words, have I plagiarized? So if you cite it, you're good to go. If you don't cite it, you've plagiarized. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure even if you paraphrase, well, first of all, you shouldn't just change one word because that's definitely plagiarizing. Even if you cite it, that's not yours. If you're gonna paraphrase and you're going to get an idea from someone else to reinforce your own idea, then that's fine as long as you cite it.
That's right. Remember, the whole point of me having you guys write these essays, right, is because I want you to develop your own ideas. A really bad way of developing your own ideas is if you just take somebody else's and say that they're your own. Right? Does that make sense? So please, it's true. There are a lot of people who've written great things about this play that offer great insights into it. I'll be sharing essays with you that do just that. But you have to make sure you separate out what you think from what they think. Right? Now, one of the things that'll conflict or confront you guys again and again, even in science, is you'll have certain ideas. You think you're really brilliant, but then you read somebody who's not only said it before, but said it 10 times better than you ever could. Right? So at that point, you say this idea is not original, and you present it in its stronger form, and you cite it. When I do the essay workshop day with you guys, I'll go over all of this in excruciating detail, because after that, I want to have my conscience clear that if anybody does plagiarize, I will put a big 0 on your page, and you'll get a 0 on the assignment, and I won't shed a single tear for it. Does that sound fair? So I will give you guys the respect of going through to make sure nobody has any misconceptions about what plagiarism actually looks like. So I'll give you that respect. Give me the respect of saying, listen, I know my ideas are really shitty. I know I haven't thought them through. They might be very confused, but I respect myself and you as a teacher enough to at least give them to you. Okay? Your ideas that are awful are to me more important than great ideas that I've seen somewhere else. Is that fair? Fair enough? Okay. So for today, the forum post. So we've all seen how to get to the forum. The forum post for today is not an original post. You just find one other person's post and comment on it. Okay. Like I said, everybody who posted in the forum by this morning, I've replied to. Anybody else who had a response but just didn't put it up there and put it, I will respond to that as well. My responses are only questions. They're only really annoying questions to just kind of stick needles in you guys to spur your thoughts on further. Your responses are going to be like interactions. You read what the person thinks. You can say whether you agree or disagree. Yeah. You can say whether you agree or disagree, and you give some reasons. And again, they can be as long or as short as you want. Again, you can have one character on there. That's fine. But now you're not screwing over yourself. You're screwing over the other person. Because if you don't have a better response to them, they're not going to be able to develop their thinking. The only other thing for that is only one reply per post. So not everybody can jump on Michael and tell him why he's wrong. Okay? He only needs to hear it once from one perspective. If you find it, then go on somebody else's. Okay. Are there any other questions about anything that we did today so far? No? Okay. So I will show you guys, or at least I'll give you the website where you can find the lectures. I guess Miriam has already found both my YouTube pages. The one. So she's going to be getting a job with the FBI. For all of those who aren't as creepy, the YouTube page that I have, I'll write it on the board. It's called The Power of Facing. Okay? The Power of Facing. That's the YouTube channel name. The power of facing is a phrase from George Orwell. He says that one of his great abilities, he wasn't that smart or he wasn't that great, but he had a power of facing unpleasant facts. And what more power can you really ask for than to face unpleasant facts? So that's the YouTube channel. Let's see if there's anything else to do today. Yep. I'll hand back the assignments. Okay, so that's all for the Oedipus today. If you have your King Lear books, we're going to hand them back. We also have your presentation marks that we can give back to you guys as well.
So I'm going to call you up to take your King Lear book. Please look at the number on your Oedipus duotang